You ready? Alright, let's get into this. Now, the next story I tell you is a story about two titles, and it was called the MAIAVA titles. Yeah, I get all that shit, but get your head in the game. And this story is where the two MAIAVA titles come from. Latu Mailangi continued to live in Falehau. Then he shifted to an allotment called SEKETO'A, residence of warriors. Then again he moved to Vaipoa. Latu Mailangi ends up having a son and calls him SEKETO'A. And this SEKETO'A is the last of the SEKETO'A tribe that no one knows of according to the tales of the SEKETO'As. Altogether, Latu Mailangi, who lived in Vaipoa, had 3 sons whose names were SEKETO'A, Masanga, and Tuinukue'a. He also had a girl named Ta'awhea from Hihifo. SEKETO'A was the true warrior of the time. He was the leader of the country in everything. He was strong and brave, and his brother Tuinukue'a was well built and good looking. Niwa Toptapu was divided because of these two. The people of Hihifo wanted Tuinukue'a to be appointed king when Latu Mailangi died. But Latu Mailangi himself and the people of Vaipoa wanted SEKETO'A to succeed. It came to a time when Latu Mailangi became sick, and he understood from that sickness he wasn't going to get better again. When he felt himself getting weaker, he ordered the people to build him a stretcher and carry him around the royal burial ground at Falehau, sited at Fatu'ulu. This was also a place where heathen ceremonies are held for special events, and in this event, a ceremony was being made due to his illness. After arriving at Fatu'ulu and Falehau, and all the ceremonies and rituals were done, he felt that nothing had worked, so he told his people to carry him around Neo Toptapu to have one last look at the place before he died. The story goes to say that when they came to the beaches of Hihifo, Tuinukue'a with his young men was fishing there. And Tuinukue'a, seeing the people carry his father, he ran up and helped the people bury the litter. Alright, pause. Wait a minute. Bear the fucking litter. You see what I mean? He helped bear the litter. Isn't that like saying he ran up to carry the rubbish or some shit like that? I'm sure I ain't tripping, but do you see what I mean? Not looking good, bruv. Wendy Pond slipping slowly. Back to the story though. When Latu Mailangi arrived at Vaipoa at his home, this was called Maloloa Hau, the people let down the stretcher and left. Latu Mailangi asked, "Who was the man that helped carry my litter? Because I felt my litter being lifted higher." SEKETO'A tells him it is Tuinukue'a. Then Latu Mailangi told SEKETO'A, "Hurry, for the time has come that the shoots of the banana should be divided, for it is growing too fast." He was speaking parables, but the real meaning of his words meant that the time had come for Tuinukue'a to be killed, because he understood when he dies, Tuinukue'a would surely be king. Shortly after this conversation, Latu Mailangi died. Then SEKETO'A instructed his 2 brothers who had the same mother as he did to go and search for Tuinukue'a and bring Tuinukue'a to him. These 2 men were Oloinuna and Tekimoto. Oloinuna and Tekimoto went to look for Tuinukue'a with their big coconut sticks. They found him fishing with his men at Falehau, and they speared him and killed him. They did not leave it at that, but they kept driving their spears through his body until it was filled with holes. And that is why the beach of Falehau at that certain spot is called Ava Ava, holy. They then took Tuinukue'a's body to SEKETO'A, riddled with holes and spear stabs. SEKETO'A grieved when he saw his body and shouted, "I told you to bring him to me alive, and not only that, you filled his body with holes. And from today, you Oloinuna shall be called MAIAVA Oloinuna. You will be banished to the foot of the mountain and gaze from there at the sea. You shall no longer stay at Vaipoa. And you Tekimoto, you shall be called MAIAVA Tekimoto, and you will be banished to the top of the hill, gazing from the cliff there." These 2 MAIAVA titles, MAIAVA Oloinuna and MAIAVA Tekimoto, are still used and are handed down amongst their descendants today. That is the story of the 2 MAIAVAs. The 2 MAIAVA are Mataapules. Alright, this is the next story. Let's waste no time. Don't worry, there'll be a breakdown of this book at the end, but we're getting closer to the hidden gems. But this is about the death of SEKETO'A, and of how the last of the SEKETO'As came to his death. It is said that it was clear to the people of Hihifo that SEKETO'A had committed a crime in having instructed that his brother Tuinukue'a should be killed, so they waited for an opportunity to kill him. SEKETO'A took his brother Masanga from Falehau to Vaipoa to stay with him. Masanga was a very unhealthy old man, and his feet and legs were covered with sores, but SEKETO'A still wanted him to stay despite all this. SEKETO'A had other young male followers that stayed with him, so there were many living on this allotment. SEKETO'A liked fish very much, so his young men were kept busy fishing for him. This was an opportunity for the spies from Hihifo to find out what chances they had to come and kill SEKETO'A. The warrior from Hihifo went to the seashore and he took sea slugs ashore. He stacked them up and kept them until they almost stank. One night the spies from Hihifo came and found that SEKETO'A's men were out fishing. They ran back to Hihifo to tell the warriors. A warrior then painted his body with bad sea slugs so that he smelled like Masanga's sore foot. They came and found Masanga and SEKETO'A alone. There was a hibiscus tree at the back of SEKETO'A's house where his big coconut spear was kept. The Hihifo people came to it and the warriors took the spear down. There were fowls sleeping in the tree, and when the spear was taken down, they fluttered and squawked. SEKETO'A, hearing those noises made by the fowls, said to Masanga, "There's a man outside." But Masanga said, "No, it is an owl." From his words, the Hihifo people used to joke around and call their warrior Lululangamoa, the owl that stirred the fowls. When the people of Hihifo heard SEKETO'A speak, they knew where he was and were able to direct the spear straight at him. When the spear struck SEKETO'A, he groaned and held his breath, and Masanga, hearing it, said, "SEKETO'A, are you sick?" SEKETO'A replied, "Light a spade, so I can take the splinter out. It is only a small splinter." When Masanga lit the spade, he was shocked to see the huge spear in SEKETO'A's body. SEKETO'A said to him, "Masanga, why have you hurt me?" Masanga cried because he hadn't done anything. SEKETO'A then broke the handle of the spear and took hold of the point which had gone right through his back, and he pulled it out. SEKETO'A's fishermen came back. They found SEKETO'A very weak, for his wound was great. SEKETO'A's men searched and searched, but no one was found. The only thing they found were footmarks on the sand, and they all pointed to Hihifo. They knew it was the Hihifo people who had done this unfortunate thing and escaped. SEKETO'A told them that after his death, his body should be thrown into the sea so that he could stop the fish in Niua Sea from attacking anyone. As SEKETO'A's wound was great, it was not long before he died. His people did not throw him into the sea, for he was king, and so that is why he was taken and buried in the graveyard called Duaone instead. Although SEKETO'A was not thrown into the sea as he was requested, ever since he died, the fish of Niua has never attacked anybody. The fishermen go out to fish, and boats have sunk there, but no one has ever been known to have been attacked by a fish within Niua Taputapu's boundaries. And with that, a great fish has often appeared, and it is often said that it's SEKETO'A, and they say that he is often seen. Alright, next story. This is the last appearance of SEKETO'A. In the 19th century, the Christian faith, both Protestant and Catholic, came to Niua. There was a man called Paulo Selui who was a lay preacher in the Wesleyan church. Alright, I heard you. This is for the dummies like me that need to be told information within information. But I get it, it's necessary, so we fully get the pic that should be painted. If you don't know what a lay preacher is a non-ordained, authorized member of the congregation who conducts worship services, delivers sermons, and provides spiritual leadership. Often trained and licensed by their denomination, they assist in ministry, particularly where full-time clergy are unavailable. They are distinct from pastors but play a key role in supporting the church. Basically, if we go back to Manila's attack in 1762 on episode 1, those churches were only used as fronts for ammunition warehouses, and if it ain't really built from religious roots, then I would automatically think this is a gang move. And there ain't nothing wrong with gangs and their moves, it is what it is. It's just how long are we going to stay blind to the move? And if it was a gang move, then those shadow people running that particular organization or organizations may have been using these lay preachers as pawns to do their preaching when pastors from outside may have been unavailable, because it says they are distinct from pastors but play a key role in supporting the church. That leads me to feel that these may have been the earliest of island pastors who were slowly morphing into the Christian persona that we know today. If I'm wrong, so be it, but if they did use those lay preachers to do their preaching from the book they bring onto land, there's only one conclusion that leads me to believe. They wanted power and to conquer the world. So their main goal was to manipulate the people into believing in an entity that they introduced, which distracted the believer from the belief in themselves and their own physical and mental capabilities. You know what I mean? You're trained to put all your power and strength into an entity that in all respect, in the long run, may never respond. And in doing so, the believer falls into an illusion where the psyche of a person stays boxed in and trapped. No fucking neutrals expanding in that area, leaving the creative part of the brain that tends to think outside the box remain fucked up and damaged. If you don't get anything I said, I meant you were trained to believe you have no real power, that you're not fucking powerful, that we're not fucking powerful. While the chess players of the world receive power effortlessly from that faith you give them. Bitch, if you don't fucking wake the fuck up, I'm gonna fuck you up myself. Fuck them, I reckon it's time we take them. They was always scared of that. That's why the Bible was made. And they fed it to us like a motherfucker, because that was the only way I see that they could really take us, with manipulation. Scared of the physical, mental, and spiritual strength in Polynesian numbers. Just food for thought. Marinate on that for a little bit. Now back to the story. So yeah, there was a man named Paulo Selui, and he was a lay preacher in the Wesleyan church. But later he became a Catholic. He was appointed to warden in the Catholic church. One day Paulo and a few of his church members went to the island of Tafahi to get a big tree for a slit gong. A slit gong is one of these, all that. There were fewer than 10 men going with Paulo. When they arrived at Tafahi, they immediately spotted a teria tree near the seashore which was suitable for their purpose. They cut down the teria tree, cut it into shape, took the inside of the trunk out to make it hollow, pushed it into sea, jumped into the trunk of the tree loading it with coconut frond stems, and paddled on. The sea was calm and the weather was good, and the wind blowing from northeast was gently helping the trunk to drift toward the main island of Nuadoktapu. Thus was their endeavor to procure the trunk of the tree for a slit gong. The tree trunk was still green and it was heavy too, so just when they were halfway between Tafahi and the main island of Nuadoktapu, the tree trunk started to sink. Suddenly a great fish appeared. It was as big as a whale, and it had a big round white shiny mark on its side. It swam up and dived, then came up, carrying the trunk on its back and swam carrying it and the men of Nuadoktapu. It was almost like riding in a boat with one of those attached machines. The fish swam straight to the canal opposite Vaipoa known as Umuteve. When the fish was near this opening, about 4 yards from it, he gave one big toss and the log and the people all fell within the reef, and the fish turned and swam out to sea. The big white shiny spot on the side of the fish is what marks SEKETO'A, as that marks the place where the spear went in. It is said that this occasion was the last time SEKETO'A appeared. After all, this is a legend. It then goes on to say that maybe SEKETO'A knew that Christianity had come with its true light and no longer had faith in spirits still of use, and so it was time that he should disappear for good, never to come back again. Alright, that's that one. Fuck off to the next story now. That's where it really gets good.